to freeing his people who had been enslaved. This is how he reached the status of prophethood. Okay, slavery was always supposed to last for so long, and it used about 400 years as a rule. And then the people that had paid their dues and punishment have been long enough, and then a prophet was raised one from amongst them like a redeemer or a prophet, and to free them. And this is what happened in Moses' case. So, and in so doing, and getting the people out of there, he brought his teachings, his Commission teachings with him. And the reason why I want to highlight these, the Constitution of MAAT, because what I want you more to do, we'll call the Secretary of the Matter to read these laws, read these Constitution of MAAT. The original one, this is where Moses got his 10 Commandments from. But equally and more important, I want you to concentrate on your principles. Every time the sister reads a law of MAAT, I want you to think about your principles: love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. You hear it in your prayer. You hear it every time you read the Constitution. It's all in your flag, and we're going to speak about that flag too. A lot of us, we don't really know the value of these principles. You hear that these are the highest principles known to man. True that. But what are you saying? You put all these principles together collectively. You're saying the great God. That's what you're saying, okay? So what I want you to do, as the sister reads these, the Constitution of MAAT, I want you to concentrate and think on your principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. See if you can find your principles in these laws as she reads them. Okay? This is part of the class, because I'm trying to get you into the spirit of how the prophet brought these great lessons to us. When he said he brought you everything, he take to save a nation, but you the one that got to take it to save yourself. But this is how you do that. Okay? So hold on. I'm going to have the secretary to read. You can go to page 405, I think it is 406, and you can read from there. And she will read the principles, okay? Of MAAT, the Psalms.
The Psalm words. The Constitution of MAAT. I have not done iniquity. I have not robbed with violence. I have not stolen. I have done no murder. I have done no harm. I have not defrauded offerings. I have not diminished obligations. I have not plundered the necher. I have not spoken lies. I have not snatched away food. I have not caused pain. I have not committed fornication. I have not caused shedding of tears. I have not dealt deceitfully. I have not transgressed. I have not acted guilefully. I have not laid waste the plowed land. I have not been an eavesdropper. I have not set my lips in motion against any man. I have not been angry and wrathful except for a just cause. I have not defiled the wife of any man. I have not defiled the wife of any man, repeated twice. I have not polluted myself. I have not caused terror. I have not transgressed. Repeated twice, I have not transgressed. I have not burned with rage. I have not stopped my ears against the words of right and truth, MAAT. I have not worked grief. I have not acted with insolence. I have not stirred up strife. I have not judged hastily. I have not been an eavesdropper. Repeated twice, I have not been an eavesdropper. I have not multiplied words exceedingly. I have not done neither harm nor ill. I have never cursed the king. I have never fouled the water. I have not spoken scornfully. I have never cursed the nature. I have not stolen. I have not defrauded the offerings of the nature. I have not plundered the offerings to the blessed dead. I have not filched the food of the infant, neither have I sinned against the nature of my native town. I have not slaughtered with evil intent the cattle of the nature.
I thank you. What you just witnessed is the first act of MAAT, which is the Constitution of MAAT. Now, bear in mind now, we are very familiar with the power of a Constitution. No organized entity is going to exist unless it has a Constitution. Constitution itself is the life of a thing, no matter what it is. Nothing can live without its Constitution. Okay, so when it comes down to a nation of people, its Constitution is usually a collective of a set of laws that govern them in order to sustain their existence, their history, as well as forecast their future. Okay, so this is a Constitution. Usually within the Constitution, it describes every living aspect necessary to create that particular entity or person or nation or whatever. Okay, that's the Constitution. So when you speak about the Constitution of MAAT, you're talking about the principles of the ancient Kemetic gods, who people call them nations, or the Egyptians or Cometians, but these were people who actually thought in terms of being God. Now the reason why that is because you have to look at the fact that the greatest motto all over Kemet was always, man, know thyself. Okay, this was everywhere. Everywhere and in everything. Know thyself. They didn't have the time to be dilly-dallying in everybody else's business and trying to compete with other things. Now, if you notice, as the sister was reading the Constitution, each one started off with I, as opposed to the Ten Commandments that starts off with thou. Thou shouldn't do this, thou shouldn't do that, thou shouldn't do the other. Okay? Well, as long as thou shouldn't do it, then that means that leaves room for someone else to do it. But in the original MAAT, the thing was placed on the God server. In other words, on your consciousness, on your heart and mind. And what is your heart and mind doing? Okay? So it looks very well, no, my heart and mind have not committed adultery. My heart and mind has not defiled the presence of another man's wife. My heart and mind has not. So this is the difference. Okay? Now when you get away from putting the responsibility on yourself and how to govern yourself with law and principles, when you take that away, then you begin looking for things outside of the self. You start looking for people and other things weaker than you outside of the self. That's how important the Constitution is, okay? Because once you start looking outside of the self, there's a whole other ball game. Okay, this means now that you're taking time away from you and what you're supposed to be doing. Because you must remember, life is fit to build what? The temple of perfected man. Well, you can't build a temple of perfected man, which means know thyself, if you all over there in somebody else's business. That's why the prophet clearly lets us know that the person who's over there in somebody else's garden pulling their weeds don't have time enough to pull their own weeds, and all their choicest flowers be choked and died. Okay? So what he's speaking about is cultivating your soul, cultivating your own mind, as he instructs the Moors in the bylaws that the Moorish Americans, all Moorish Americans, must keep their hearts and minds pure with love. This is mandatory thing. This is a command, okay? And the reason why it is so that you can reflect upon your nature. It's a part of your nature, all right? It's in the nature of the higher self to be God. This is how I autograph my books when I send them out to people. It is in the nature of the higher self to be God. So therefore, if you study who you really are, if you learn to know thyself, running over there down the street in somebody else's business, okay, then you not only will you become stronger, but you will be free. And a lot of them say, well, I'm free, I'm a free man, No, you're not. If you have not conquered the self, then you are not free, okay? Because once you conquer the self, you become more of yourself as God. You return back to your God state. And that's free, okay? Then you'll be applicable to your principles. Now, when you mention these principles, did you notice how applicable love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice is to all of these particular commands or the Constitution of MAAT? And when you look at the Constitution, as they have it, well, not the Constitution, but the Ten Commandments. Ten Commandments that sound in the Bible. It says that I am the Lord thy God, and thou shalt have no other God before me. Well, see, right there, that's a big no-no right there, because the reason why you do that is that when the original one was that, the original law of the MAAT said you should not serve no God outside of the self, or that God will enslave you. But here, by the time it reached, should I say, the northern people out of the north, they changed it. They started adding thou, and then when it come down to God, say, look, the God is a jealous God. You should have no God before him. And all this, and people became afraid because they were looking for this God that was outside of themselves. But the actual God that was being referred to was actually the Roman Council or the Roman government. This was truly the God, okay? God was, them at that time, was whoever it was. And I want you boys to pay attention because you're going to think back on some of this stuff, right? God is the one that provides you with things. God is the one that gives you life. He gives you shelter. I've heard people say, thank you, Lord, for waking me up this morning in my right mind. Okay. Now, let's examine some of the current day prayers, and let's find out about this. Is just the first one. The first one reads, I am the Lord thy God. Thou shalt have no other God before me. This is the first of the commandments. Okay? All right. Let's find out what happened by serving this God outside itself. Listen to the average Negro that prays, whether in the church or wherever. But listen to the average prayer. And listen to who they're actually thanking for what they're thanking for. Okay? They're thanking for the food on their table. Right? They're thanking for the job, the money in the bank. They're thanking for the clothes on their back, the shelter over their head. All right? The Lord is also going to make a way. Okay? The Lord is taking care of the children. The Lord is taking care of this and taking care of that. Listen at the prayer and listen at the gratitude. Now let's examine this God that the Negroes have been serving all during the time of slavery, and let's find out who this God is, what this God is, that's providing everything that the Negroes is thanking him for. Okay? And see if the Europeans cannot be, is not the same God that the Negroes are praying to. Okay? Who provides the Negro with food and shelter and clothing? Who provides the Negro with shelter? And who provides the Negro with his right mind? Okay? Who tells him when to get up and when to lay down? Who sets the clock? Who sets the calendar? Who owns the stores? Who owns the businesses? Who owns the military? Okay? Who owns the very home? Even the funeral parlors? Okay? And so it's not completely out of order for someone that's been raised to serve a God that's outside of the self. When someone names the God, then say, well, we don't want to put no God before this God. Why? Because this God provides me with food, shelter, and clothing. And we don't want to put no God before this God, because right mind, and I will see this God in the sky after I die. Sound familiar? Okay, let's go on to another commandment. Thou shalt not make unto thee any given or graven images. Again, you don't want to put no thing in front of the God, okay? Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord in vain. Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. Honor thy father and thy mother. And also, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor, and thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house or wife. Okay? Now, the thing about it is, thou shouldn't do it, but if I need your land, because I want to build a mall, then that's called eminent domain all of a sudden. Okay? Why? Because God said I can change the law to make it suitable. I want to nationalize the land. I want to nationalize the water, the air, and I'll make it applicable to myself. And you, oh servant, oh worshiper, you got to do the same. Okay? You got to obey me. Because if you don't, then you will find that you're going to have to face the wrath for not obeying my 10 commands. Okay? So you don't went out there and you got some black on black crimes now, huh? Okay. So we find out that, good gracious, the great God has provided some other things here. Oh my goodness. It's the poppy fields? Who in the world grows that? And got the cocaine all up in the neighborhood with pistols and guns and knives and things to kill one another. Who in the world provided that? Well, good gracious, would you know it? You had to go before God when you go to court. The same God that put the poppy fields out there, the same God that brought it into the neighborhood, the same God that made the guns, is also the same God that convicted you. All right? This is what can happen from the world of competition, meaning that you have learned to serve something outside of the self, and you've learned to compete with things outside of the self. You cannot grow this way by developing things outside of the self, because these things outside of the self is going to make you weaker, simply because of the fact that is taking away the time that you should be applying to your own growth and development. All right? So let's see how this works. Remember now, you got the 10 commands. The 10, we got the explanation for that. We also gave you the explanation for command, okay? Competition is one thing that diverts one's interest, okay? It takes, you know how Jolie said, one's interest can only be in one direction? All right. If you got a competitive mind, then your interest has been diverted, because now, instead of paying attention and learning who you are and how your God power is supposed to be existing, and you already existing, and how to use your God powers, then guess what you're doing now? You compare, because the other brother got a pair of sneakers, and you should have them, because he cannot wear them like that. You should have a pair just like them or better, okay? And that's the fad now. Everybody got to wear white sneakers, okay? Or you got to have your hair done a certain way. Or you got to have a certain thing in your house, or a certain thing with your children, a certain kind of word that you have to use. And so you compete. Meanwhile, while you're competing, you got games going on. Who is going to come out the winner? Who's going to come out the victor? Who's going to come out the champion whenever you are competing? Because when you look at these commandments, the actual laws of MAAT, when you look at the principles that the Moors have, there is no competition. There is no competition in love, no competition in truth. There is no competition in peace. These are levels that you have to strive up to. All right? These are unified things. These are things that bring you to the oneness of yourself. Anything contrary to that is going to end you up in the world of competition. Okay? In the world of competition, this is where you run into things like lewdness, murder, theft, and anything else that harm. It all comes from competition. Okay? Where that the stronger is supposed to survive by dominating the weaker manifest. This is the world of competition. The Noble Ali calls it simply the fall. So if you were to give a summary for the word competition, you can mainly surmise that word as the fall. Now let's find out exactly how it fits that. And I had one that says, now Rabbi, I still mispronounce that name. I tear it up all the time. But anyway, he was the head of the Jewish order. Anyway, he was a Nazareth, and he spoke with Joseph, Jehoshua, who was the son of Joseph and Mary. And one morning after the temple, Jehoshua sat in silent thought, and he was meditating on himself. That lets you know right there what a real God does. Notice what he was doing. One morning, as he said in silent meditation, he wasn't watching cartoons. Okay? Because cartoons will take you off. It's animated. It's not real. So if you're being diverted, your interest being diverted into that or something else, it could be any number of things, all right? But he was taking the time out for the self. He was sitting in silent thought, meditating. He was dealing with consciousness, self-awareness, all right? And so the rabbi said to her, say, look, which is the greatest of the Ten Commands? And said, I do not see the greatest of the command. I see a golden cord that runs through all the commands, that bind them fast and make them one. And this cord, he says, is love, and it belongs to every word and all the Ten Commands, all right? So let's break it down, and let's look at the word cord here. When it says this cord, you talk about the will of man when it meets the deific will of Allah. Because there is a bind. The cord is anything that is binding, okay? It links, so it has two ends to it, okay? And it connects one end to the other. That's why they call it a cord, all right? It doesn't matter what kind of color it is or what it's made out of. This is what a cord is, no matter what it is. It's got two ends to it, and it binds one end to the other, okay? You can use that cord to connect things, okay? So when it says this cord here, you're talking about the will of man. So when you look at the will as a cord, all right, there is a cord that connects you, Muslim, with the great God. There is a cord that connects you. What is this cord called? The cord is called your will. When your will meets with the other end, which is the deific will, it's the same cord, all right? Because when you go back to chapter 1, there's no difference because you are perfect. Because you are a seed that came from a perfect source. And the seed is perfect as the source from which it came, all right? So what we're doing now, at one end of the cord is the seed, and the other end of the cord is where the seed came from. So what is it that connects the cord, connects the seed with the source? It is called the will. Now when the will gets sluggish and get crazy, that's when man starts falling, and he ain't always think he God no more. He gonna be some of everything else. I'm a bad boy, okay? And I don't even want to talk about the sister. Y'all know what it is, okay? No, you talking about use the words. Now, okay, so when it come down to this cord, then when one is full of love, all right, then that's the other part about the cord too. All right, that will is the love is a motivating force for the will. Okay, that's the harmony. That's what activates it. So in other words, when the prophet told us in Acts 7 that the all Moorish made it mandatory for all Moorish to keep their hearts and minds pure with love, he was activating the will. So in other words, you don't have the will. You don't want to be a Negro no more. Laying around, ain't thinking about nothing, ain't doing nothing, wait for somebody else to come along and feed you, while you sit on your hind leg with your paws out front. Okay? Begging and carrying on. All right? Now, if one is full of love, then he can do nothing else but worship the great God. Why? Because that's that cord being activated. All right? And you see this in Acts 3. You also see the totality of MAAT is summarized with the highest principle, love, true peace, freedom, and justice. The prophet brought it all to us, Morris. But we have got to have these classes. We've got to teach ourselves. We got to keep our eyes on Noble Drew Ali. Okay? Because he's the only one. He's the only one that knows how to be a Moorish American. All right. All these so-called grand sheiks and leaders and things, they don't know jack. But if they did, they'd be free as a nation of people by now. So if you want to know how to be free, then you have to follow Drew Ali. That's the name of the game. Okay? That's the cord that connects you back to where your consciousness connects you back to your supreme source. You've got powers within you that you can't even imagine right now, because you've been so far out of it and haven't used them. Do you know you got the power to even stop governments from thinking? Yeah, they with a negative thought, not and execute it anyway. It don't mean they don't come up with this thing about it, but they can't activate it. All right, but you can stop them from thinking. Jolie said, if you want to, you can get the Europeans to the place where two of them can get together and they can't agree on nothing. That's power, okay? But you got to be in your right state, all right? So also he goes on to let you know that when one is full of love, notice you're not talking about thou, okay? All right? He cannot kill, he cannot falsely testify, he cannot, all these other negative things. If you got the love there, that's the reason why. See, our interpretation of love is like something you can make. We made some love last night. But when you look at love for what it is now, how can you make it when it was already there? Okay? So, but that's the Western form of love. That's where you take the Spirit of God out of a thing, and then you feed it back to you. Okay, and they want to call it like, you take the spirit out of a Moorish American and it makes them a Negro, then you feed it back to it. So, well, here you go, it's NBC. Now, if you don't know no better, you think the NBC is just as conscious but it's not real. Okay? So when you take the Spirit of God out of something, it's no longer true. It's longer, the value of it's no longer there. Okay? So when it comes down to open up the wonders of the mind, this right here, as we were speaking the other night, you're talking about exercising the reason and the will. These are the two wonders of the mind that you have to exercise, okay? It's good more to know the meaning of and the definitions, the scientific definition of the words, like the word hand. Hand has always been used by the elders since ancient time as symbolic of the mind, okay? Well, feet also is used. That's the term that's used. It's symbolic of how you travel, how your thoughts are traveling. It ain't got nothing to do with the feet that's connected to the ankle. It's being how your thoughts are traveling. Okay? That's how your feet are. All right? So, in other words, like what the prophet said, if our feet don't abide in our Father's house, then turn your feet from our path. So what does the prophet say? If she ain't thinking about Allah, if she ain't thinking about the Moorish American national, if she ain't thinking about being free, if she ain't thinking about her people, then no. See, wouldn't want to be here, okay? So in other words, if our thought pattern is not there along the Moorish way, why would you want to bring her all up in your house? And you know she ain't thinking about being Moorish. Oh, okay. All right, you can roll it up in there. There's going to be some fur and feathers flying up in that nest. Anyway, when it comes down to the doors of the mind, you also got two other exits there. The doors of the mind, when you speak about the doors, it's struck about remembrance and understanding. These are the doors of the mind, okay? So It's all I'm teaching a class here. Okay, the windows of the mind are reasoning and willing. The doors of the mind is remembrance and understanding. Okay? When you put all these things together, then you're going to have activation. So what I want to do, because I gave us some assignments, but I definitely want more to know that you don't want to build a wall around yourself and think that just because you know that you're more shamanic and now you're a monster, that you're something special. Don't get up, because that'll put you into the world of competition again. You don't want to do that. You end up like the Jews did. They thought they were all this. I'm God's chosen people. The great God don't have no chosen people. What kind of God would that be to choose somebody over another? That means the God is competing too. Yeah, right? Okay? So you don't want to get caught up into that just because you think you know your nationality and you're out of slavery for a minute, you know. So, you know, you don't want to get caught up into that. All right. And this is what happens when you do the world of competition. You hear people tell, well, he ain't no more because he ain't a member of so-and-so, or she ain't no more Samaritan because... No, that's competition. Ooh. Okay? Because in reality, no man has got the power to change another man from the descendant nature of his forefathers. So therefore, how could you make a determination as to who is the national and who is not a national? And neither one of y'all got a nation to kiss up and the one to throw it out of. So anyhow, this is what happened with the Jews. All right. And to this very day, the Jews are still thinking that they the stuff. All right. But how can you be the stuff and you walk around, you don't kill nobody and you don't touch nobody on Saturday? But the other 6 days, you terrorizing the rest of the earth. What's up with that? Okay, go on out behind the wall. Go on. Get out of here. All right. So, and another thing about these, remember when it comes down to these laws, these commands, when you are following another man's dictate, this is why we tell the Moors, stay out of the European courts. Why? Because they're operating off the principles of the Ten Commandments. Okay? They're operating off of competition. There is no salvation, there is no freedom for the Moorish American gods in the European court. It doesn't make no difference with the quasi court, the Supreme Court, or anything in between. It doesn't matter. There is no freedom for the Moorish Americans in the European court. You must come together, develop your own nation under your own constitution, and voila, just like that, you got your own laws. Why? Because you got love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice to guide the principles of the other principles that will guide your laws. Okay, you already got a constitution. All you gotta do is blow it out. All right? Your Department of Education is right there in your divine constitution. All right? All your banking system is right there in your divine constitution. Your government is right there in your divine constitution. Everything you need to protect and guide your whole nation of people is right there. And to lead the nation of the earth is right there in your constitution. That's all. All right, so what I'm going to do, I want everyone to start sit your phone right now, and I'm opening up the class for any questions and comments. And freeing these people who have been enslaved, this is how you reach the status of prophethood. Okay? Slavery is only supposed to last for so long. Okay? They're operating off of competition. There is no salvation. There is no freedom for the Moorish American gods in the European court. It doesn't make no difference with the quasi court, the Supreme Court, or anything in between. It doesn't matter. There is no freedom for the Moorish Americans in the European court. You must come together, develop your own nation under your own constitution, and voila, just like that, you got your own laws. Why? Because you got love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice to guide the principles of the other principles that will guide your laws. Okay, you already got a constitution. All you gotta do is blow it Department of Education is right there in your divine constitution. All right? All your banking systems right there in your divine constitution. Your government is right there in your divine constitution. Everything you need to protect and guide your whole nation of people is right there. And the leading nation of the earth is right there in your constitution. That's all. All right, so what I'm going to do, I want everyone to start. So what I want to do, because I gave us some assignments, but I definitely want more to know that you don't want to build a wall around yourself and think that just because you know that you're more American now, you're a monster, that you're something special. Don't get up, because that'll put you into the world of competition again. You don't want to do that. You end up like the Jews did. They thought they were all this. I'm God's chosen people. The great God don't have no chosen people. What kind of God would that be to choose somebody over another? That means the God is competing too. Yeah, right? Okay? So you don't want to get caught up into that just because you think you know your nationality and you're out of slavery for a minute, you know. So, you know, you don't want to get caught up into that. All right. And this is what happens when you do the world of competition. You hear people tell, well, he ain't no more because he ain't a member of so-and-so, or she ain't no more America. No, that's competition. Okay? Because in reality, no man has got the power to change another man from the descendant nature of his forefathers. So therefore, how can you make a determination as to who is a national and who is not a national? And neither one of y'all got a nation to kiss up and the one to throw it out of. So anyhow, this is what happened with the Jews. All right. And to this very day, the Jews are still thinking that they the stuff. All right. But how can you be the stuff and you walk around, you don't kill nobody and you don't touch no money on Saturday? But the other 6 days, you terrorizing the rest of the earth. What's up with that? Okay, go on out behind the wall. Go on. Get out of here. All right. So, and another thing about these, remember when it comes down to these laws, these commands, when you are following another man's dictate, this is why I would tell the Moors, stay out them European courts. Why? Because they're operating off the principles of the Ten Commandments. Okay? They're operating off of competition. There is no salvation. There is no freedom for the Moorish American gods in the European court. It doesn't make no difference with the quasi court, the Supreme Court, or anything in between. It doesn't matter. There is no freedom for the Moorish American in the European court. You must come together, develop your own nation under your own constitution, and voila, just like that, you got your own laws. Why? Because you got love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice to guide the principles of the other principles that will guide your laws. Okay, you already got a constitution. All you gotta do is blow it out. All right? Your Department of Education is right there in your divine constitution. All right? All your banking systems right there in your divine constitution. Your government is right there in your divine constitution. Everything you need to protect and guide your whole nation of people is right there. And the leading nation of the earth is right there in your constitution. That's all. All right, so what I'm going to do, I want everyone to start switch your phone right now, and I'm opening up the class for any questions and comments.